Throughout my 16 years of watching professional wrestling, I've seen a vast amount of spooky, undead, and or goth gimmicks. Whether it's on a large scale on national television or some random indie show that you find on YouTube, you'll find somebody or a group of somebodies trying to pull off their own spooky, undead, or goth gimmick that almost always falls flat. Of course, you have some exceptions with your Wyatt Families, Aleister Blacks, even the Su Youngs of the world. That one's a personal favorite of mine. You'll more often than not be subjected to some pretty interesting attempts that don't fit any sort of vibe on a wrestling show, but today is not detailing any of that. Two wrestlers, one who many consider to be the greatest of this particular genre of gimmicks, the other having adopted this gimmick specifically for this match, a match that a good percentage of people watching have probably never even heard about or conceived in their brains that it could even be a possibility. And that is what we will be discussing in today's video. This video is a result of a poll that I held in my community tab, where the topic received about half of the 600 plus votes. If you would like to possibly influence my videos in the future, keep an eye out for when I post these. If you do enjoy this video and you want to see more videos about all the random and cool stuff that comes from pro wrestling, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And with that being said, let's get right into it. Meet Jinsi Shinszaki. For those who might not know, this man might look a little familiar. You might know him from his time in the World Wrestling Federation under the name Hakushi. The story of his hiring is that the WWF were looking for a Japanese wrestler to sign. They had offered the deal to Hayabusa initially, but he would decline the offer in favor of working for FMW, so the offer was made to Shinszaki after he impressed the higher-ups during a tour in Japan. The only program of note that he had in the company was with Bret Hart, which he'd have a series of subjectively very solid matches with. His reward for this was eating a pin to Barry Horowitz, the then resident jobber of the WWF, and it was very obvious from this point on that his future would not be in the company. You see, Shinszaki is everything you would want in a professional wrestler, a damn near perfect mixture of any style you could ask for, so of course the WWF would not want to utilize someone like that because they've always been a wrestling company that hates wrestling. According to Bruce Pritchard,
J.J. Dillon had seen Hakushi in Japan and talked about how this guy walked the ropes and what an incredible athlete that he was, and the unique look and the tattoos all over his body. You know, we had seen him work over there, and the guys that he was working with were a bit smaller, but you didn't have any perspective. You didn't know how big Hakushi was compared to a lot of the talent that we had.
He left the company in 1996 and would return to Japan, where he would wrestle Keiji Muto, better known by his alter ego, the Great Muta, in the Tokyo Dome at the Battle Formation event for New Japan. It was portrayed as good versus evil, Shinszaki in the white, Muta in the black. Muta dominated most of this match following an attack where Muta would make Shinszaki bleed using Shinzaki's own staff. Shinszaki spent more than half of the match pouring blood all over ringside and himself trying to string some consistent offense together and succeeding at points, but it wasn't enough ultimately to overcome Muta. Muta tortured Shinszaki in this match, hanging him from his own belt over the top rope and writing the kanji for death in Shinzaki's own blood on his own staff. This match, canonically, was the death of Hakushi and would be brought out when the time called for it. That time just so happened to be in October of 1997 when an undead man would have to be revived to take on another dead man. You see what I did there? Got him so fuck. Meet The Undertaker. Now, I'm not going to waste anyone's time explaining in detail who The Undertaker is because that name is almost synonymous with pro wrestling in the past 30 years. If you know Stone Cold or The Rock or even fucking Triple H but you don't know The Undertaker, take a second to Google him and then come back here. Credited as one of the greatest and most consistent big men in wrestling history and touted as one of the best strikers in wrestling history. I can't even say that with a straight face. He made his first and only appearance for the Michinoku Pro promotion in October of 1997. During this period of time, WWF would actually work with other promotions and exchange talent from time to time. They worked a lot with Japanese promotions, not just Michinoku Pro, but also FMW and others alike. They let Mick Foley go over to FMW for some of their anniversary shows in the late 90s. They'd get Grace Sasuke on WWF programming sometimes, and they'd even send The Undertaker to Michinoku Pro. What was left of Hakushi's remains would be resurrected for this match, which took place on October 10th, 1997, and emanated from the Ryogoku Kokugikan in Tokyo, Japan. I think I actually pronounced that. Holy shit. Well, with that being said, let's get into the match. Shinszaki makes his entrance first, carried out in a coffin as, again, he is undead. He's dropped off to the mat where he stays for a bit, still in that bloodstained attire that Muto left him in as Taker makes his entrance. The light gets brighter as Taker enters with Shinszaki still lying down on the mat. The bell rings, Shinszaki slowly gets up to his feet, Taker hits a chokeslam in very quick fashion, but Shinszaki no-sells it. Taker delivers multiple strikes at Shinszaki, getting up after each one until Taker whips Shinszaki into the corner. Shinszaki ricochets off of the turnbuckles, and Taker drops him with a clothesline. Taker goes for the first pin of the match and gets the 2. Taker picks Shinszaki up, rings the arm, makes his way up to walk the ropes to deliver old school. Again, Taker goes for the pin, and again only gets 2. Taker again whips Shinszaki into the corner. Shinszaki flips over and falls to the outside of the ring. Taker hits Shinszaki a few times on the outside, with Shinszaki making his way back up each time. Taker re-enters the ring. Shinszaki makes his way up to the apron. Taker takes him down multiple times, with Shinszaki making his way back up before picking him up from the apron and hitting a brainbuster. Taker tries another pin, but Shinszaki has his foot on the rope this time. Taker picks Shinszaki up, whips him into the ropes. Shinszaki counters and slaps the fuck out of the Undertaker for the first bit of offense in this match. Shinszaki runs into the ropes to eat a big boot from Taker. Taker does his signature sit-up, and Shinszaki slowly gets back up. Shinszaki backs Taker into the corner, tries a whip but gets reversed. Shinszaki gets his feet up and hits Taker with a Hurricane Rana, goes for the pin and only gets a 1. Shinszaki backs Taker up and goes for many headbutts in the corner in succession, with Taker pushing him off each time. Taker goes for another chokeslam, but Shinszaki flips out of it, grabs Taker's leg, and hits a dragon screw to take him down. Shinszaki then begins to target the leg of the dead man, delivering multiple falling headbutts to the left leg before setting Taker up in a tree of woe and hitting even more headbutts to the leg. Taker eventually regains control and is able to get Shinszaki down. Taker picks him up again to attempt to whip into the big boot. Shinszaki counters and relentlessly goes after that leg yet again. Shinszaki goes to the top rope and hits a diving headbutt onto that leg as Taker rolls out of the ring. Shinszaki goes for a slingshot crossbody to the outside, but Taker is able to grab him and drive him spine first into the ring post before going back into the ring. Shinszaki rolls back into the ring. Taker goes for the whip. Shinszaki reverses but eats a jumping lariat for his troubles. Taker slowly goes for the pin but only gets the 2.5. Feeling the effects of that leg, Taker gingerly brings Shinszaki to his feet. Shinszaki goes back to targeting the leg, runs into the ropes where Taker catches him, almost gets him in position for a tombstone, but Shinszaki again maneuvers out of it and hits another dragon screw. Shinszaki climbs to the top rope and hits a moonsault where his knees land directly into the stomach of Taker, goes for the pin, and only gets a count of 2 out of it. Shinszaki goes back to the top, goes for another diving headbutt, but Taker does his sit-up spot again to avoid it. I actually really fuck with that. Taker grabs Shinszaki and sends him straight to hell with another nasty chokeslam, goes for the pin, and again does not get the 3. Taker slashes his throat, waits for Shinszaki to get up, picks him up, and spikes him on his head with a tombstone pile driver. Taker crosses his arms to go for the pin, and gets the 3 count to end this match. When approached for comment, Taker responds on his way backstage with,
"They all rest in peace."
After the match, Shinszaki is rolled back to his coffin, carried off to be entombed, and that's the end of that. Similar to the match with Muta, you see Shinszaki eat a lot of offense from Taker. These two matched pretty well overall. I feel this was as stiff of a match as I've seen Taker in for the most part. The psychology was there. This was a very acceptable watch from my perspective. It sounds like glazing, but shit like this really does make me appreciate Shinzaki's work a ton. He's not a small dude by any means. He might be compared to like a 6'8" Taker, but a 240-pound man doing the shit he was doing at his size, flipping out of chokeslams, that's very, very impressive in my opinion. Shinszaki has spent pretty much the remainder of his career in Japan, primarily working Michinoku, which he is now the owner and president of while still an active competitor. Alongside Michinoku, he's worked New Japan, All Japan, Big Japan, FMW, DDT, Noah, GLEAT, Dragon Gate, Wrestle One, among many others. Since his tenure in the WWF, he hasn't worked much in the States, but he definitely has had some notable appearances, more specifically at Heatwave 1998 for ECW, where he and Hayabusa unsuccessfully challenged Rob Van Dam and Sabu for the tag titles. Other promotions he has worked in the States include, and are limited to, Chikara and GCW. He was a part of Muta's retirement tour, being on the opposite side of him in a 6-man tag that saw the end of the Great Muta gimmick, where he worked as Akushi for old time's sake. While slowing down a little bit, the 58-year-old Shinszaki still wrestles somewhat consistently, having 20 matches recorded so far in 2025, with his most recent one taking place just last week as of this recording. He's even worked a match where he teamed with the new Hayabusa. Yes, there's a new Hayabusa, and yes, it was approved by the family, against Mano Suzuki and Masato Tanaka, so he's keeping himself busy at least. As for Taker, he's been retired since 2020, and thankfully has not followed the long-standing tradition of pro wrestlers breaking out of that retirement. He still makes appearances for WWE sometimes, primarily in NXT, and is on their new version of Tough Enough called LFG, which does not stand for Let's Fucking Go. I think he's a judge or something, but I couldn't tell you for sure because I don't watch that show. Taker's career has been scrutinized and analyzed to deep extent since his retirement, and while he will never be better than Sting in any metric, he's definitely a capable performer that has been and will be remembered for decades to come. But yeah, that was Undertaker versus Jinsei Shinszaki. What did you think? Feel free to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, as I look for all feedback, positive or negative. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already, so you do not miss out on any future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.